and then we'll segue into some of the field work that Joanne and I have been up to, and then we'll get to hear from Joanne next. Milestones. So 2014 was a big year in the Northwest. There is active mining now at Red Chris and at Yellow Giant. So these are our two new mines that our minister was talking about yesterday or last night. That's the amount of effort that's gone into these new mines is cannot be understated. So it's really impressive to see that happening. Kitsalt is under construction. They've received their various approvals and they're looking to build over the next 12 months. So hopefully their funding falls into place and we can see another mine well underway. KSM received both their federal and provincial environmental approvals for a mega project. Huge milestone for them. Bruce Jack entered the environmental assessment process and received their provincial approval just recently. And then the Northwest Transmission Line is commissioned. So these 5 items, these are huge highlights, and these are kind of nation builders in terms of pushing infrastructure and these kind of facilities into the northwest of British Columbia. Huge developments and progress for that part of the world. Some of the numbers from 2014. So we're down in exploration expenditure and drilling meters, but we're kind of approaching our 2010 levels for expenditure. We're at $161 million last year. Still 47% of the provincial total, so still remaining quite busy. Exploration meters drilled, we're down to about 151,000 meters. So definitely a downturn, but like we heard yesterday, there are some upsides to the downturn, and there's some really significant expenditures in terms of long-term investment that you can really see in that $500 million combined mine development and mine-related infrastructure projects, showing and proving that BC is a desirable place to invest for the long term. So it's still a great place to be working. Some pie charts showing the value of our producing mines. There's supposed to be 6 there, I guess. Wow, all sorts of cell range values. Anyhow, the point being, our grassroots and early stage projects amounted for 43 of the 80 projects that I was able to monitor last year, and yet it amounts to 14% of the exploration expenditure. Whereas this big blue Pac-Man is actually our mine evaluation stage project. So that's where the majority of our expenditures are coming from. This is what the map looked like for 2014 in the Skeena region. 6 producers and soon to be 7. 16 mine evaluation and mine development projects and 58 exploration projects. So things are still very busy. And this will turn to 7 as Red Chris comes more consistently on stream as a producer. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the region and break it out sort of into districts that can largely be defined by min files. So these dots represent all the known mineral occurrences in the province, highlighted in the Skeena region. And we're going to start down here in the Skeena Arch. You can see this cluster here. And then we're going to move up into the prolific S.K. Stewart Antiochs cluster. We'll touch briefly on some of the coal projects in the Bowser Basin. The Stikine Arch, up where Red Chris and some of those projects are, and briefly touch on our Good Hope and Atwood areas. So that's the agenda for the next, hopefully 15 minutes or so, if I can rattle it off like an auctioneer. So the Skeena Arch is defined as our structural transverse feature that separates our Bowser Basin in the north from the Nechako Basin in the south. And you can see this network, this fault mesh network that crosses the northwest Cordillera general trend. And the typical prospects that are sought after here are chalcocalic, copper gold, moly silver deposits and related precious metal veins. And these are a list of the active projects in 2014, and each one really deserves a presentation unto itself. We simply don't have time to go through all of them, but we'll go through these 4 in the box and certainly touch on some of those highlights. So at Huckleberry Mine, jointly owned by Imperial Metals and the Japanese consortium of Mitsubishi, Dowa, and Fukuoka Co. Limited, they were able to achieve their production targets in 2014 that were adjusted even though they had a mechanical failure at their SAG mill, and a bit of an impressive feat of problem solving, where they actually reversed the rotation of their SAG mill, repaired their bull gear, and reversed the rotation to put the stress on the different side and actually get them back into production quite quickly with a minimal amount of downtime. And then they permanently fixed it later in the year. So their new tailings facility is operational. They're in their 3rd year of main zone optimization plan. This is what the mine site looked like last year. They've got over 40 million tons of reserves at 0.3% copper in their main zone optimization and main zone extension pits. And again, this is an idea of what that main zone optimization plan looks like when they're looking to mine this material underneath their former main zone. And that's a view from the high wall looking here towards the southwest, that panorama on the top. Stepping just across Tatsa Reach to the south, Gold Reach Resources continued exploring their Utsa project. They had a nearly 10,000 meter drill program last year, with more than half of those infilling their known resources, and then 9 exploration holes. And you can't understate how nice of a fit this project is, and kind of where the Utsa project is in its maturity relative to some of the existing infrastructure at Huckleberry Mine. So hopefully things will work out and keep evolving to take advantage of that infrastructure as this project becomes more mature. One of the most notable things that Gold Reach accomplished last year is they expanded their ground position substantially to include several other prospects in the area, including other porphyry targets and precious metal vein targets. So, and they've added to their corporate staff, which will actually free up their chief geologist to keep doing more geology in the field rather than trying to run a successful company and do all the geology as well. So, Banks Island Gold, they received their Mines Act permit just over a year ago. They've been producing ever since and were able to deliver over 12,000 ounces of gold last year, 32,000 ounces of silver. We'll be hearing a little bit more about this project from Danielle Mountjoy a little bit later, but I'm really happy to see that they are going to be conducting more exploration on their tenements. They've got several min files and conductors to chase up, and I believe that's what Danielle's been tasked with into the next 12 months. So looking forward to hearing from her. Sort of the northern extent of the Skeena Arch is ends at Kitsault. So it's a moly silver porphyry. Formerly named Avanti Mining has changed their name to Alloy Corp. As I mentioned before, they've received their environmental assessment approvals, and they are gearing up for full-scale construction, which is going to have a big impact in terms of the number of jobs created during that construction period and for another producing line. This is what the site looked like in September last year, and they're going to build a new mill and a camp actually up on this basalt plateau, and they can start mining. Their strip ratio is virtually zero. They start pretty well with a layback of this particular wall. And then an interesting exploration upside is that they actually haven't gone out of the the mineralizing system in the bottom of the pit yet. And looking at some of the old drill logs, some of the best moly grades are actually in the deepest parts of the system. So interesting to see, and keen to see them come into the production and get their exploration team back up and running as well. Okay, so stepping up into the SK Stewart Antiochs area. So this is the westernmost boundary of the Stikine terrain. You have some long-lived north-south structures. You have a very prolific and well-endowed mineralized belt, with some historic past producers, sandwiched between the Coast Range to the west and the Bowser Basin to the east. And just some spectacular projects in this particular area, and we'll just touch on a couple of them here. So KSM and Seabridge Gold, this project just keeps on getting bigger and better. Their proven probable reserves, still at nearly 2.2 billion tons of half a gram gold and 0.2% copper. You can expect this number to increase as they increase their confidence in their resources from Deep Kerr and Lower Iron Cap. So just recently they've updated these resources, and these are the kind of numbers we're looking at. So 782 million tons at 0.5% copper and 0.3 grams gold from Deep Kerr, and 164 million tons at 0.27 copper, 0.59 grams per ton gold at Lower Iron Cap. This is the success of identifying these high-grade core zones to these polyphase intrusive complex, and they've got a substantial budget to continue exploring for them this year. They're looking to test the Mitchell zone, so one of their best deposits has not been tested at depth for the hypothesized high-grade core. So keep an eye and an ear out for that development as it comes through. But they have received both environmental assessment approvals, federally and provincially. Pre-construction permits have been issued. So really, if you know anybody with $5 billion or so that wants to build a nation-building kind of mine, should get in touch with Seabridge, because I know they're looking for a dance partner. Just a few kilometers laterally and a few kilometers vertically up in probably the same system, Pretium Resources and the Brucejack project. They've recently received their provincial environmental assessment approval. Their federal approval is pending. They're gearing up for a big year of construction, and lots of sort of mine development activity forecasted for this year, and hopefully they get some exploration work done as well. Because when you look at sort of at a district scale, they have several targets that remain immature in an exploration sense that certainly warrant further testing. There's a few photos from the underground in the last year. So the Cleopatra vein and in the rays, slick and sided electrum on the walls of the underground. There's some cloddy visible gold in the Cleo vein as well, and then the mine geology tour set up almost like a museum to show people this deposit and to really lay out a very convincing model where you can see it for yourself and see how much good work has gone into this particular project. But just back to what I was saying about the exploration maturity of this area, this is comparable to other global giant deposits. So you look at sort of the contained metal, from the KSM Brucejack camp, measured indicated categories, relative to say Grasberg or La Escondida, and these are very big projects. And the contained reserves at Brucejack are only within the Valley of the Kings and the West Zone. So we still have several different zones to keep their exploration programs busy for some time. And this slide was shamelessly pilfered from Pretium slide deck, so I know they're not here this year, so definitely give them a shout out. Down into the more of the exploration and early stage projects, Colorado Resources and Snip Gold were able to complete a tidy two-phase exploration program last year, and graciously let Joanne and I use their helicopter to complete our field work as well. But they definitely completed, or delivered a number of results that are turning into a convincing play. This is what some of the terrain looks like, and we'll be hearing more from Adam Travis later today as well. So there's certainly some similarities to other very prolific areas, just to the east of here. So won't spoil it for everybody, but this is what the ground looks like, and you can see why that's fairly attractive. And when even the government guys can go and kick around some rocks and find some visible gold, it's got to be pretty reasonable. So moving up into our Bowser Basin and Stikine Arch areas, just a brief touch on some of our coal projects. Fortune Minerals at their Arctos project, and then Atrum Coal at Groundhog. Both of them are seeking to develop ultra high ranked anthracite. Atrum is looking to complete a bulk sample here in the foreseeable future, so we'll just keep an eye on that. And that definitely has potential to turn into a substantial project in the near future. So the Stikine Arch, back to our metal projects. This is where Red Chris is hosted. We've got our other significant projects at Shaft and Galore Creek. You're looking at some of these structures, our north-south and east-west structures as being, original architecture to the Stikine terrain. And the definition of the Stikine Arch, in my mind, I think, is some of those original structures and sort of the northern margin and horseshoe around the Bowser Basin. So this is where companies are looking for these high potassic calco-calc deposits, and we'll touch on a couple of them right now. So Red Chris was up there last week, and they are producing. Certainly their surface operations were ahead of schedule. They look really good. There's still a few things to get in line in their milling, but again, just tip of the hat to Imperial for charging along and making it happen, because we all know that they've had a pretty rough go here in the last 12 months. So this is what mining looks like now at Red Chris. So this is in July, where they're starting to excavate at their east zone. There's the shovel working, and this is what it looked like on Thursday last week. So this is a crushed ore cone outside their mill building. So things are moving right along. They've actually trucked concentrate down to Stewart, and they've sent their first bulk carrier over to Asia to the smelter. So starting to get a bit of cash flow. I'm getting the light. Am I getting the hook next? 3 minutes. Lots of time. Okay, a quick touch on Colorado Resources North Rock project. They delivered their maiden inferred resource last year. So I know this is kind of old news, but it can't be understated that these guys took a surface showing and a hand sample from the BCGS work into an inferred resource in a matter of 9 months. They followed it up with nearly 2,200 meters of drilling last year that were able to confirm mineralization at depth, and there's still room to grow that deposit. Over to Tanzilla, former West Circ and the Kaizen Discovery Group partnered with Freeport-McMoRan. They're looking to drill and keep testing the porphyry system underneath the Tanzilla silica cap. Looking forward to getting out there, and this is the site for the 2015 field work area that Joanne and I are going to be looking at. So brief touch on the Good Hope area. This is kind of the amalgamation of other exotic terrains as we go into the ancestral North American margin. I to be honest, haven't spent a ton of time up there yet, but this project, Pyramid, is a true blue grassroots discovery. So this is a small project that has grown from Dustin Perry and his group at Gold Jubilee Capital Corp, taking regional geochem data, some of the original stuff, and following up anomalies, and subsequently putting together soil grids and a few IP grids, and coming up with some really interesting targets. And last year, some of their best rock samples were returning over 11 grams per ton gold. So this is, an open spot there are no min files on this particular property. It's within the northern part of the Quesnel terrain. It just goes to show that there's lots of room for discoveries to be made still. Brief touch on some of our Atlant projects. Our Telsqua Chief project, they've released an updated feasibility study last fall, and their biggest difference being that they no longer require a road, and they're actually going to go to a seasonal barging operation. So that reduces their capex by about $125 million. Getting the hook. Well, there's our summary, guys. This is our bid file map again. Look at all that open space, and that's why there's lots of room for exploration, right? And this is where Joanne and I have been working in the last 2 years. There's these kind of boxes where we're chasing this Hazelton-Stuhini red line map. I strongly encourage people to have a good look at these areas and expand on it, test the model that Joanne and I have been presenting. Let's not forget that some of the stuff that Quinn Harper and their RICO team are testing over there in the Tutagon. There's lots more rooms for those more mid-file occurrences, and I'd like to thank you guys for having me, and it's always an honor to be a participant at KEG, and we'll see you in the field. Thanks.